Alright guys, welcome to part 2 of this little series that I'm putting together. The first video was how to build a fundamental grip on your handgun. This video is going over how to find the red dot on your pistol. As you guys have noticed, the red dot is becoming more and more popular. It's been popular on the competition side of things, but now we're seeing more and more folks actually carrying handguns for self-defense that have an optic on them. So out with the old and in with the new carry optics and red dots. Alright guys, so this video can be relevant to two types of people. The new shooter that just so happened to purchase a handgun that already came with the red dot, or maybe they purchased them together because they've just seen the popularity of it and maybe somebody made a recommendation for them. And then the other type of person is someone who's been proficient, or at least they've been confident in shooting for years and years with irons. They've jumped into the red dot game and all of a sudden they can't find it. Confidence is low, their splits and their times are slower, and they're just really struggling. So let's jump into this. It's really short, really easy, just my 2 cents on it. Hopefully it'll help you guys find your red dot and get that confidence back on the range. So let's check it out. If you guys haven't watched the video on how to build a fundamental hand grip and you're new to shooting, please go watch that first because that is going to be very relevant to what we're talking about. There's really not a big secret to finding your dot. It's two parts. One, having that fundamental grip that is repetitive. The best way to make it repetitive is to practice. Dry fire, dry fire, dry fire. I can't say it enough. The second portion of it is not looking at your irons or looking at your sight system whenever you bring the handgun up. You want to be focused on your target as opposed to your sights. Alright guys that have been shooting for a while and they've just jumped into having a red dot, it's likely that you guys didn't realize that you had this issue until you got a red dot, but it's fixating on your irons or your sight system as opposed to looking at your target. So what I mean by that is whenever you're presenting your handgun, you are looking and trying to find your irons, lining up your rear sight and your front sight down here and then bringing them up to the target. That is a no-no. That's not what you want to do. You want to be looking at your target and bringing your gun up into your field of view and bringing your irons onto the target. So I'm not going to go into the whole target focus and sight focus and depth of field. I've got a whole dedicated video on that. Go check it out. But in terms of shooting a red dot, it is very relevant. So again, having that fundamental hand grip that's repetitive, and then do some dry fire practice where you are looking at a target, whether it be on your wall, at the range, whatever, looking at the target and bringing the handgun up in between you and your target into your line of sight. One example that I like to give for this is if you guys have ever hunted before or you've worked with a new hunter, a lot of kids will struggle, let's say with deer hunting, when they bring up a scoped rifle and they're looking through the scope and then fishing around to find the deer, especially in the woods where everything looks the same. It's super hard to look through your scope and then use it like maybe a pair of binoculars or something where you're scanning around. Instead, what you want to do is look at the deer and then bring your scope or your rifle up in between you and your target. It's actually the same way with binoculars too. If I'm out glassing, I want to be looking at whatever it is that I've got my eyes on and then bringing the binoculars up in front of me. If I do this and I'm searching around with them, I'm never going to find what I'm looking at out in the woods. So same concept as hunting and bringing that rifle up between you and your target as opposed to searching around or fishing around with your scope. Looking at your target, bringing your handgun up with that fundamental grip, and that red dot is just going to appear in the frame. If you can do that consistently, dry fire and just staying on target, bringing that sight system up, the dot is just going to appear on what you're looking at. You might have to make little minute corrections. The dot might not be centered in the glass or the frame. You should be able to see it and get a reference as to where it's at to make little tiny corrections. Remember, no matter where the dot is in the frame, as long as your dot is on the target, you're going to hit what you're shooting at. If it's off to the left or right, high or low, as long as the dot is on your target, you guys are good to go. So you might make a couple little corrections, but bringing it up into your line of sight while you're already looking at your target is the key to that. So let's break it down again, guys. It's really just two things. Having that fundamental grip that you practice and dry fire over and over and over again, and then looking at your target, bringing your dot up between you and the target in your line of sight. All right, guys, that's it. Practice those things, and I guarantee that's going to help you. If it doesn't, as always, drop me a comment down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, keep shooting.
God damn.